So here's what happened. Syria, Libya, the conflicts that you saw in Yemen, these were the beginnings of what we call proxy war. Proxy war is the term that you want to think of when you think about World War III. And a proxy war is nothing more than an intrastate, like intramural means inside the state, a civil war, if you will. It's an intrastate war that's funded and exacerbated by external players. That's what happened in Syria. Internal war funded and exacerbated by China and Russia on one side and the United States on the other side. Yemen is the same way. An intrastate conflict, a civil war funded by Saudi Arabia on one side, Iran on the other side. It's the same thing that happened in Libya, right? And that is the model of the current age. Right now, where we sit today, there's 116 hot conflict zones in the world. The vast majority of them are proxy wars, where there's a first world or developing world on one side and a first world or developing world adversary on the other side, who are both funding internal conflict, whether that's in Colombia or whether that's in Sri Lanka or whether that's in various parts like Myanmar or Burma, happening all over the world. Those conflicts started in 2006, 2007, right? Basically, the last or traditional conflict was us invading Afghanistan. When you look at Russia and Ukraine, Russia made a misstep because they violated the proxy war approach only because they shared a border with Ukraine. So they chose to go into Ukraine. But then immediately after they invaded Ukraine, what did the United States do? Used Ukraine as a proxy. So the war in Ukraine isn't a war between Russia and Ukraine. It's a war between the West and Russia. And the thing that's so frustrating is that when Russia first invaded Ukraine, Putin said, this is not a war against the West, right? This is a war against Nazism or whatever else, which was total bullshit, totally failed bad propaganda. But where Putin was smart is he knew that he just had to bullshit for a few months. Yeah. Because after that, something would happen where he could tell the truth. And that's why within 3 months, when Ukraine was using American weapons to fight on Ukrainian soil, and when Ukraine was using British weapons and Poles were teaching them, now it became very much a Western effort to contain Russia. And then that's when Putin changed, what is this war? And he changed it to, this is a war against the West. Well, now this guy who was a liar is telling the truth. And that's hard. It's hard to be a Western person and look at the conflict in Ukraine and not be like, how Putin's got a point. Putin's telling the truth sometimes.
Right, there's a grain of truth, which makes it ambiguous.
Which makes it even worse, because now he can hide the lies even more effectively behind that grain of truth. And it's such a show.